Hi, it's Gordon, Fat Old Climber, and welcome to this week's Mounjaro Diaries. This week I want to answer, yet again, some of the most common questions I get asked, some of which I've answered before, some of which I haven't. Before I do that, let's have a quick update. I recently finished my second fast. I did a 7-day fast. I've done a video about it. I just didn't want to post it too soon after the other one, so I'll post that in a couple of weeks. It was an interesting experience. Lost a fair amount of weight, some of which has gone back on. My next fun little challenge I'm going to do is, if this posts on Monday, I'll be on the second day of my sardine challenge, where I'll just be eating sardines for 3 days. That'll be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to that. I love sardines. I've booked a DEXA Scan. Those of you that don't know what that is, it's a big complicated X-ray type machine that will give me an accurate measure of my body composition. I'll talk about why I'm doing that in an answer to one of the questions I'm going to answer, but I've got that coming in a couple of weeks. Hopefully I'll be able to film some stuff and do a little vlog on it. I'll post that. But the big news is I finally hit under 100 kilos. Having started off my Mounjaro journey at 138 kilos, I've lost about 40 kilos in the last 7-ish months. That's about 217 pounds I'm at just now. And that's since I started Mounjaro. I'm about 90 pounds lost since I started, which is phenomenal. I'll talk a bit more about how far I intend to go in answering to one of the questions. So let's get down to it. Let's answer these questions. They're not in any particular order, and I'll put chapter marks down below so that you can skip through if you want to get to a particular question. Don't forget, if you're not a subscriber and this content's of interest to you, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. It really helps the channel. So first question I get is related to the golden dose, the fifth dose, and that's, what is this golden dose? I've had a few comments, a few questions recently talking about how the manufacturer states that it's not injectable fluid. And you're right, the manufacturer states it's not injectable fluid. However, when you actually look at it in the code light of day, if you actually look at a pen, all of the liquid at the start of it is in the same place. All of the active ingredient, the Tirzepatide, is in that liquid. It's inconceivable to me that the pen knows how to just inject the Tirzepatide and leave liquid that was mixed in with no Tirzepatide in it. So there's all sorts of explanations for what it might be. My supplier, MedExpress, says it's additional liquid for priming. I think you'd have to be really heavy-handed with your priming to use all of that, because it's at least a full dose, sometimes a dose and a half. So that's what it is. And I'll say again what I've always said to people: if you're risk averse, if you want to use the pen exactly as the manufacturer states it, you will not use the 5th dose. If, on the other hand, you want to save a bit of money, if you want to make the pen a little bit more value for money and get 5 doses out of it instead of 4, then that's what the 5th dose is for. And I have all sorts of videos on how to take the 5th dose. I'll link all the videos I mentioned in this video in the description. Next question I get asked, and I don't understand this question myself, it's about the 5th dose, which is, when do I take the 5th dose? It hadn't even occurred to me that that isn't obvious. You take the 5th dose the week after the 4th dose, i.e. the pen is going to last 5 weeks instead of 4. Someone asked me if you take it at the same time as the 4th dose. I have literally no idea why anyone would think that, but the 5th dose, or the golden dose, is giving you an additional week. So you take it the week after the 4th dose, i.e. your next pen won't be till week 6 instead of week 5. Next question I get asked about is short dosing. And remember, short dosing is when you take a smaller dose than the size of the pen. So for example, if you have a 10mg pen and you're using it to take 5mg doses, basically it's when you're taking a shorter dose, a smaller dose than the pen is designed for. I, for example, use 15mg pens and I take 7.5mg injections, which means, including the golden dose, I get 10 injections out of it. Again, I'll repeat my risk-averse thing. This is definitely against the manufacturer's guidelines. So if you want to follow their guidelines, then don't short dose. Use a 5 milligram pen to take 5 milligram injections. Short dosing and the fifth dose lead into two questions I get asked quite frequently. The first one is related to the fact that the manufacturer states that after the first injection, the pen will last 30 days and should be disposed of after that. I talked about this in my most recent pen instructional video. It states quite clearly, keep the pen refrigerated before you start using it. It also states that once you start using it, you may keep it unrefrigerated for up to 30 days. I've literally no idea why you would keep it unrefrigerated if you're keeping it refrigerated to keep it fresh. So if you want to follow their instructions, if you want to throw your pen out after 30 days, then that's what you should do. What I choose to do, what a lot of people choose to do, what some prescribers or medical people choose to do or suggest doing is that you, after first use, you keep it refrigerated and you can use it up to the expiry date, I would say, as long as you're keeping everything clean, as long as you clean the little grommet at the end before and after use, and as long as you put it immediately back in the fridge. I have literally no problem with doing that. Obviously, every time I use it, I'm checking to see if the liquid's cloudy, but you should be doing that anyway. So, short dosing, fifth dose, also leads into another question I keep getting asked, which is, doesn't your prescriber have a problem with you not ordering every 4 weeks? When I first started Mounjaro, I was just using the pen as normal with the fifth dose. So every 5 weeks, I would order a new pen. And MedExpress start reminding you 2 weeks after your order that it's time for a new pen. So I took all of their emails, all of their messages as sales reminders. And I just ordered it when I needed it. Ordered it like the week before I needed it. And I never had a problem with it. Once I got to the stage where I was taking 7.5 milligrams from a 10 milligram pen and then from a 12.5 milligram pen, I think the longest I went between orders was 6 or 7 weeks. And again, they kept reminding me, but they were just reminding me in a kind of salesy way. At no point did I get a message saying to them, if you don't hurry up and order, we'll kick you back to 2.5 milligrams. However, I have had commenters who have said that their provider has said that. Their provider has said, if you don't order within 4 weeks, we'll kick you back to 2.5. So you need to make your own decision based on your prescriber. What I do now for the last 4 pens, I order my pen every 3 or 4 weeks. And I've got a small stash in the fridge. My main reason for doing that isn't that MedExpress might have a problem with me not ordering regularly. It's because eventually I will be looking to slowly taper, and I don't want to come into the situation where MedExpress decides it's time for me to come off it, and I have to come off it cold turkey. So I plan to, by the time I'm finished, I plan to have enough pens to last me should I need to microdose or really, really slowly come off it. So that's what I do. Again, every prescriber is different. I would not ask my prescriber, is it okay if I order every 8 weeks? Because they're going to say no. But from MedExpress's point of view, I order now every 3 or 4 weeks. So again, based on short dosing and the microdose, the question I got asked is, what about pen needles? Some comments say, my supplier only gives me 4 needles. How can I take 5 from it or 10 from it? MedExpress always give me 6, and in the early days I was only using 5, so I still have about 13 in the cupboard. So I will have to get some eventually. I will need some eventually, but after searching around, I found a supplier, Chemist for You, and I got these, which are CarePoint insulin pen needles, universal fit. There's 100 of them. I think it was like £7 or £8. These are 31G 5mm, which are exactly the same size as the ones I'm used to with my pen. I don't need to use them yet, but I have tried one and I can confirm they look exactly the same and they work exactly the same. So I'll put a link to these in the description if you want to get these. Other online chemists will sell them, but this is just one that one of my subscribers told me about, and I tried it and it does work. Another question I get asked, or a big discussion that came up in one of my videos, is with if you're using the syringes and it has a longer needle than the pen needle. I was injecting wrong apparently. What I have started doing is, because I've got less subcutaneous fat, I now pinch slightly and inject at a 45-degree angle. I have found plenty of information online that that's how you should do it with a needle, but for me, I'm only really concerned now that I've lost so much weight. When I started, the best comment I had on any of my videos was someone commenting that I could easily inject with a 60mm needle and still be in fat. That's pretty much where I was at the start. But feel free, don't pinch too much, don't pinch too hard, but a slight pinch to gather the fat and then inject at 45 degrees is probably wise, particularly if you're using the syringe. So last couple of questions. I get asked a question about, people ask me, for reasons I don't quite understand, when should I titrate up? When should I increase? I'm on 2.5, should I go to 5? I'll tell you what I tell everyone. If you're on 2.5 and you don't have particularly bad side effects and the appetite suppressant is working, I don't think there's a need to move up to 5. But if the appetite suppressant isn't working, then I see no reason why you wouldn't go up to 5. As I've said in many of my videos, the therapeutic dose for Mounjaro is considered to be 5 milligrams. So the 2.5 isn't considered a full dose. Yes, sure, it will work for some people. And if it does work for you, don't titrate up. Titrate up as slowly as you can. And the other thing is, there's no real reason to go from 2.5 to 5 if your appetite suppressant is only a wee bit not working. It's entirely possible to go up half a dose, go up to 3.75 and just use the short dosing methodology, i.e. I think you'd get 6 or 7 doses at that. So you can use the counting clicks method to take 2.5 from a 5 or 3.75 from a 5, but don't titrate up unless you need to. Obviously, if the dose you're on is causing adverse side effects, you can drop a dose, and you don't need to drop a full dose. You could drop half a dose. Just don't take the full 60 clicks. The thing I get asked more than anything is how many clicks for this dose from this pen. I can't believe how often I get asked that question. I'm going to answer it again. This is about the 5th video I've answered it. There's a calculation. A full dose is 60 clicks. You divide the 60 clicks by the size of the pen. So let's say I'm on a 10 milligram pen, 60 divided by 10 is 6, and then you multiply it by the dose you want. So if I want to take a 5 milligram dose, 6 times 5 is 30. It's that simple. So instead of clicking for 60 clicks, you click for 30. That's the calculation. If you can't be bothered using the calculation, then I've got a table that shows you for the major doses for all pens. I'm about to show it. When I show it, pause the video and take a snapshot. Here it is. If when you get to the 5th dose and you're using an insulin syringe to short dose from the 5th dose, i.e. you're not taking a full dose, insulin syringes are marked in units, and coincidentally a full dose is 60 units. So if you worked out how many clicks you need to get the dose you want, then it's the same number of units. So I have absolutely no doubt people will keep asking me, and I'll keep answering. One of the things you'll find is I don't always answer a question directly, and that's because you need to remember, I want you to work out how many clicks for your dose. I don't want you to rely on me. I'm fallible, I can make mistakes, so work it out for yourself based on that table or based on the equation. A question I get asked all the time is, what's your plan once you come off it? You're going to just put all the weight on. I don't know how many times I have to answer this. I'm not worrying about it until I'm coming off it. I won't be going cold turkey when I come off it. I will have time, and my plan is not to be on it for the rest of my life. My plan is to slowly taper, and once and as I taper, I'll be adopting all sorts of good behaviours or better habits that will allow me to keep the weight off. That doesn't satisfy some people, and I'm sorry if it doesn't satisfy you. What can I say? That's my plan. What I would say is I climb minimum 3 times a week, and if I start to put on weight, I will know about it very quickly. Over the decades, as I've slowly put weight on, I wasn't really doing anything, so it crept up on me and I wasn't really paying attention to it. That won't be the case. So I'll know if I'm putting weight on, and I'll do something about it sooner. My plan is to slowly come off it, get as low a dose as possible, maybe stick on that for 2 or 3 months, but eventually to be off it. And my plan is to not put the weight back on when I'm done. Other than that, I can't give you any more details. And then the last question is, how long am I going to take it for? How much more weight do I need to lose? Now, I've thought about this a lot. I know that I still have excess body fat. When I look at my BMI or when I look at anything that tells me what weight I should be, I'm still not even overweight. I'm still obese. But when I grab my fat, there's not much. So I'm getting leaner. What that suggests to me is that I have quite a lot of visceral fat. For those of you that don't know, subcutaneous fat is the stuff under the skin, obviously, and above the muscle. Visceral fat is the fat in and around your organs, predominantly in your abdomen. Visceral fat is bad, particularly apparently if you're lean. So the slight calculation you can do to work out if you're overweight is you measure your waist and then double it, and it should be less than your height. My waist is currently 40 inches, doubled is 80, and I'm only 71 inches tall. So I still have a lot of weight around my midriff to get rid of. And because I don't have that much to pinch, my only assumption is it's visceral fat. Now, last week I decided I was just going to keep going until that equation worked. But what I decided to do this morning instead is I've decided to book a DEXA scan. A DEXA scan is the gold standard for body composition. It will not only give me my fat percentage, it will talk about where it is distributed. It will also give me my muscle mass. Arguably I should have done this at the beginning, but I didn't, and that's fine. The reason I'm doing it just now is I want to verify that I do have more fat to lose, and then I'll focus on that for the next 2 or 3 months, and then I'll get another DEXA scan. And what I'm hoping to see in that DEXA scan is no reduction in muscle mass, but a big reduction in body fat. So watch this space. So that's booked for the 9th of March. Hopefully I'll be able to do some vlogging, and either way I'll put together a video of once that's done, and I'll talk to you about the results. So that's it for this week. But if you have any other questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. If you found this interesting or useful and you're not a subscriber, don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button if you found it useful. I'll put a link to all the videos I mentioned in the description, and I've also got some links to things you might need to buy, needles, and some Amazon affiliate links. Full disclosure, if you use my affiliate link, I'll get a little kickback, so thanks for using it if you use it. Other than that, I'm still on the go, I'm still losing weight, and I'm excited to get down to a healthy weight without all this excess visceral fat. Thanks for watching. I'll see you the next time.